Good morning, Ross.
Good morning, Sherman.
How are you?
Doing well, thank you. A little exhausted after having gone around the globe about 1.5 times in the last month, but doing well.
Good. Well, I just did an interview yesterday with Joe Hebert from Outcrop Gold, and so kind of getting back into the groove as we get ready for PDAC. I mean, clearly it's been some challenging junior markets, and I think there's going to be an incredibly energetic and large crowd at PDAC, and after being canceled for a couple of years in a row. So we're really excited to get back out on the road and talking about the different companies that we're involved with. I'm here with Ross Mcelroy. Ross is the Chief Executive Officer of Fission Uranium. Fission's an incredible story, and I'm not going to spend much time introducing Ross. He's got an incredible track record in the capital markets in Canada, and to me is one of the top experts in the uranium sector. But also, one of the things I wanted to really talk today is about energy overall, and a couple things. One is, Ross's views on the energy sector and how important uranium is. I think investors forget how important uranium is to this mix. We talked about electrification. We talk about, the energy transformation with electric vehicles, but I think we really need to focus a little bit on uranium. The second thing I want to get Ross to comment on today is the stunning turnaround that he's executed at Fission. Now, clearly some of that is the market coming back for uranium stocks in general. So all, as Warren Buffett once said, all boats rise in a rising tide. And it's only when the tide goes out that you see who's swimming naked. And, but Ross really has done an amazing job. And I wanted Ross to tell the story about the numbers, because they're really stunning. And there's some lessons for investors as to, how much money you can actually make in the market if you buy really good stories at low prices. And I guess the final wrap up would be just to talk very briefly. Ross is executing a site visit coming up in the near term that I got invited to. So I wanted to thank Ross for inviting me to the Fission Uranium site tour. I've been many times to Saskatchewan, and I'm really excited about the site tour. So those are kind of the three things I thought I would just throw it over to you, Ross. Ross Mcelroy is the Chief Executive Officer for Fission Uranium. Really excited that you took 5 to 10 minutes out of your day, Ross, and the floor is yours.
Good. Well, no shortage of topics there, Sherman. I think they're all really good, very topical. My first thoughts, if I can remember everything correctly that you asked, I mean, obviously you want a little bit on the energy sector. I guess there's a number of things at play. We are seeing more and more of the electrification of the world. I mean, everything we do is converting into, being powered by electricity. And it's not just your cell phones, it's everything associated with transportation these days. Electric vehicles, it's just really, the demand is incredible. And on the other hand, how do you actually generate electricity? Well, we've been primarily doing it with fossil fuels for the longest time, and now there's a realization, obviously, and I think this is a global realization, that we do have to wean off of fossil fuels. So now, how else are you going to generate electricity? I mean, it's battery metals, and the whole battery sector is phenomenal, but that's only one part of the equation. The uranium is really focused at the front end, because it's generating the power of which you can charge up your batteries and electric products. So I think that there's, this is really why we've seen in the last 2 years a real turnaround in the whole uranium sector. It's just realizing that nuclear is a fundamental part of that, the whole electricity equation. And, for how does that affect the equities? You're right. All boats do float in a rising tide. Some boats float a little higher, and some will stay up there a lot longer. I think the key in anything is being in the right market. Of course, having a great project and having really sharp management that understands the sectors and how to, how to work within it and adjust, for all the nuances that happen along the way. That's key. So, I think we're in the right sector. Uranium, I think Fission Uranium is a world-class asset in the PLS project, Triple R. And you'll be seeing the latest events when you come and visit us up in July up on site. And we're advancing our project towards production. So we see ours as being an operating mine in Canada's Athabasca Basin, the premier jurisdiction for uranium. So we're very excited, and the price of the commodity continues to go up, regardless of all the other pressures worldwide. The price of the uranium metal itself continues to rise. It's up about $3 or so in the last 2 weeks. So we continue to see the uranium rise, and we think we're at the early innings of a bull market sector. So that's my real brief overall take of the sector and where Fission is sitting in there quite well. How can you make money in this? I mean, patience is good, and like I say, if you're backing the right horse, look at the Fission story. I just trying to recall 2 years ago, I think our share prices were even somewhat south of 10 cents at one time in March of 2020, I think it was, and now we're up around 80. We've hit multi-year highs recently in the last several months before, but we're up eightfold from where from the lows where we were a couple of years ago. So if you had invested in Fission in the low times, it would have been a multi-bagger return on your shareholders. And there's other really good stories like that that you and I often talk about. But so there's good stories, but I guess backing good management, great projects in the right sector, you can't go wrong.
Those are the incredibly important points, Ross. And I think, you and I have talked about this, and Rick Rule, who's, one of the strongest resource investors out there, was smart to be involved with Fission when the market value was, being tromped on by investors for different reasons. And it just shows the explosive growth you can have, not only by buying a resource stock at the right price with great projects and great people like Fission has, but also the explosive growth that can happen in the energy sector. And we've seen this time and time again. And I think, we've really been encouraging investors to develop the awareness or the realization, like you talked about, of these quality projects and to be invested in them, whether it's the uranium sector, the tin sector, the copper sector. I mean, there's these things are things that are going to be, these assets are going to be acquired for this electrification. So I guess maybe just to hone in a little bit more on the uranium side and also the size of your project, clearly, the potential upside for uranium is still extremely good. And also maybe your view on what's the size of the prize for Fission. We're sitting there with an 80-cent share price, a good market cap, but how big can this project get, Ross?
Well, that's a good question. I guess the sky's the limit in a really strong bull market. I think just talking about the price of uranium right now, the spot price that we see, published daily, it's around $48.50. It is probably inconceivable that we don't see a double in the price of uranium over the next, how long, I don't know, but call it a couple of years or something, maybe less. I think we'll see a steady increase in the price, but the incentive price to get new projects into production is going to be, I would say, $80 and higher, $80, $90. So, where does that sit? That's a double in the commodity price right now. And that, as I say, is the incentive price to move projects forward. Fission is really blessed. We have a large high-grade deposit that doesn't require astronomical uranium prices to make it go, because we would obviously benefit by very high uranium prices, but we also have the kind of deposit that once it's in production, should promises to be one of the lowest operator costs in the world. And, and that always gives you an advantage and a leg up. So quality asset, how high it gets, well, I guess it is really dependent on the price of the commodity. But I'll tell you what, the need of the commodity is there, and geopolitical risk is on everybody's mind right now, and that's not going away anytime soon. So, I think to look at assets that are in the province of Saskatchewan, where the world's best uranium deposits are, it's a safe jurisdiction. It's a tier 1 jurisdiction with respect to, just the quality of the assets and being able to develop them, put them into production. Our RRR deposit is one of the largest deposits in the Athabasca Basin, and I agree, and we have the advantage of being near surface. We are working through our feasibility study right now, so that's when we complete that at the end of this calendar year, that'll be a huge milestone on the way the way to production. So I just say that the story is looking good and getting better all the time, and with a lot of upside.
Well, thank you so much for your time, Ross. We're gonna wrap it up. I don't want to give away the farm, as they say. I encourage everybody to come see Ross. Ross is very approachable, and he'll be at the show at PDAC, and we look forward to seeing everybody in Toronto. And if you can't, you can go to the Fission website. There's lots of wonderful information about the project. And once again, thanks for the invite to the site tour, and we look forward to seeing you in Toronto.
Yeah, really looking forward to it. And as you said, PDAC in person, it's good to be back at it. 3 years later, we're really looking forward to it. Thank you.
Right on. Thanks, Ross.